Welcome to Layer Force Overview. Let's start with a couple of very quick tutorials. Select an audio track, select audio time mode, load the track. Sync markers are generated on track. Open the Edit Markers window, set the threshold, click on Generate Markers. The markers are reduced. Select and animate. Listen to the edit. Listen to the edit. Select the edited clips and the audio track. Copy and paste in an After Effects empty comp. Click on Premiere button. Layer Force set layers up. Select just the video layers and click on the current duration mode and animate. Layer Force let you animate video footages, images, solids, shapes, and vector graphics. Let's start by animating some images. The script adds effects and keyframes to the layers, but it stores the original layers' transformations. In fact, when I click on the Reset button, they get back to their original state. When the layers are keyframes free, I can modify them. Scale these, move that. To store the new layer's state, I need to click on Reset again. So, remember, when layers are animated, the Reset tool reset. When they are not, it updates their state. To make it easy, I disable the Transform panel options and also the transitions, and animate. First, the animation starts at current time, and the layer's animation order is from bottom to top. Of course, the layers are not animated. It's just cuts. Enable the center X and Y options. It makes sure layers are centered in the comp. The move option, let's say by 10, force the layers to move by 10% of comp width. I can also choose the moving direction, just left. Animate, and it works. Now, enable the scale and set to 10%, direction up. Animate. It's not zooming that much, right? Undo. It happens because the zoom percentage is calculated on the original scale value, which is small already. Enable the move option and set the directions to random. Animate. When working together, they add some energy. Now, set the fill option. As the name suggests, it makes sure the layers fill comp sides, but the fill tape depends on the layer's tape. Comps, video footages, and normal images scale up or down to fill the comp sides with no black borders. Graphic layers, such as shapes, vector files, and images with an alpha channel, only scale down. The shape layer is bigger than the comp, and as you see, is resized to make sure it does not run out of frame. The EPS file is smaller than the comp, so original size is retained. Same for the image with the alpha channel. I made this choice because graphic layers in general are not supposed to be bigger than the comp. To set all the transform options to default settings, but also the transitions and the time settings, just click on the default button. I decrease opacity to make sure anchor points are perfectly visible. The Align tool here take care of move the layer's anchor points without moving the layers. The randomize position button, as the name suggests, randomizes the position around the center up to the given amount of pixels. As you see, the anchors move, but they can't exceed the given value. The randomized scale works the same way, but on the scale property, and the value is the percentage of the scale value. What are the tools for? Well, suppose I want just to scale the files by 50%. Scale propagation propagate around the anchor point. So, the anchor randomization help to make each layer zooming different from the others. The scale randomization is very useful with some kind of transitions. I'll show you later. To set the transitions options, click here. The overlaps transitions are disabled because they are very specific, and I'll talk about them later. When I click on Animate, the script generates just the active styles. The first is max zoom, the second frame rotation, the third is hyper. If I select no styles and I enable just the slide 1, when I animate, only the transition is generated. This number is the transition duration in frames. I increase to 20 frames and I also set the slide direction to up. As you see, the transitions last 20 frames and the layers all go up. The R button reset the style parameters. Reset all the styles parameters at once. The override tool let me set a specific transition on each layer. The first layer is never used. To set, just click on a transition. A style marker is added to the selected layer. Again, select the next layer and add the max zoom transition. Next layer, hyper transition. Select all the layers and animate. As simple as that. When a transition is directional, also the direction can be set. So, I set down left direction on the slant slide transition. As you see, a direction second marker is added on the selected layer. I set zoom out on the max zoom transition. The hyper transition is one direction only, so no need to override. Select all and animate. As expected, down left and zoom out. Of course, in the Styles option window, I can still set the transition's duration. So let's set 20 frames for slant slide, 25 frames for max zoom, and 15 frames for hyper. As you see, they last more. To remove the directions markers, just click on the directions trash button. They are gone. To remove the transitions markers, click on the related trash button. The speed panel let me handle the layers, durations and cuts in many different ways. The default time mode is speed in frames. So when I animate, the first cut is set at frame 30, the second at frame 60, the third at 90, and the last at 120. Let's set the speed at 60 just to play. As you see, the layers durations doubled, so the cuts are set at frame 60, 120, 180. Before to go on, let's play the music first. Well, let's choose audio sync mode. Audio track selected. I load it. The script picks detection engine, generate the sync markers on the track. Animate. As you see, the script cut each layer at a sync marker time, but the marker's interval is very short, so the edit doesn't work. One way to make it work is to enable the speed drive audio sync option. The speed mode is enabled again. It means that under the hood, layer 4s use the speed mode first. So each layer is going to last 30 frames, and after that, it looks for each cut following audio marker and extend the layer to that marker time. Let's try. As you see, the layer's duration is increased. Well, it looks like I need to decrease the speed. Let's try 60 frames. It looks like it works well. Sometimes this way may not work, but no worries, layer 4s has a sync markers editor right here. So first I try to reduce the markers by playing with the threshold slider. Higher the value, higher the distance between markers. The markers are still too many, so I can delete these mid ones with the delete button. I remove the marker closer to the current time. OK, animate. Not bad. In case, I can also add markers at current time. Move following marker back to current time. Move previous marker forward to current time. Or remove all the markers. A full markers edit toolset. Another way to generate sync markers is the interval. Let's find the best beat and set the interval start marker. Then find second good beat and set the interval end marker. Then generate. As you see, the tool generates the markers based on the set interval. The sync, again, works, but I will refine it. The delete button let me move all the markers very precisely. I'm gonna move them backward by 3 frames. Sync job done. To remove the markers and data from the audio layer, just click on the Unload button. I added some text to the comp. Select and click on the text mode. When I click on Set, layer 4s get each text layer as a cut time reference. In fact, if I select the images and I animate, as you see, each image cut time match each text layer cut time. And there is more. Undo and delete the text layers. In Premiere, I have already set up the same text with the same cut times. Well, I can export the text edit to a CSV file and import to AI. Open the text panel in the window menu and select the graphic tab. The layers are captions ready. Just export as a CSV file. Let's name it Holiday. Now switch to AI, click on Import CSV, import the exported file, and choose, if needed, to remove the punctuation. Generate the text layers. They match the Premiere text layer's length, of course. Now, as before, I just have to click on Set and animate. Easy. As you know, Adobe allows to copy Premiere Edit and paste it into AI. Have a look at this short edit. I select all clips text included, copy, switch to AI, and paste it into an empty comp. As you see, some layers are not centered, the comp is too small, the text layers are pre-comped, and the clips order is wrong. Well, just click on Premiere button. Layer Force set everything up properly. Because the clips were already synced with the audio track, I just select video footages and click on the current duration mode. As the name suggests, it makes sure the layers' length are not modified. Animate. Well, now that I covered all the time panels options, let's animate and talk about Layer Force workflow. So, the transitions are inside slide up, crossfade and hyper. What if I want to replace a transition? Well, I just select the layer where the transition gets in, and I select the style I like. I'm gonna pick frame rotation, animate, Layer Force rebuild the animation entirely, replacing the selected layer 1 with the new one. Crossfade and hyper don't change. I can also replace multiple transitions, of course. Preset all to make the script choose between all the styles. Frame rotation is still here. Layer Force replaced the crossfade with another frame rotation and the hyper with an inside slide. What's cool about this workflow is that it works with all the time modes. So let's try with an audio track. Load. I already set the markers. Select the layers and animate. I get a zoom out, a frame rotation clockwise, and a frame rotation clockwise again. I replace the zoom, random try. I get a new slant slide, and of course a double frame rotation clockwise, because also the directions are preserved. What about text? Well, I can get some help from Layer Force brother, TextForce. If you don't know it, look for it on aescripts.com/TextForce. TextForce and Layer Force share the same approach and the same audio sync engine, but TextForce generate really cool text animations. Open it, and then select the text layers. Set the time mode to current duration and animate. Cool, right? To show you the tool, I set a bad audio track sync. Animate. As you see, it doesn't work at all. The Adjust Cuts tool here make it easy to fix animated layers' bad cuts. First, I want to move the first layer here. Disable this checkbox for a moment. To move the layer start to current time, just click here. But as you see, the other layers don't move. Undo. If I tick the checkbox, the following layers stick to the first one. The End Here button works the same way, but the selected layer ends at current time. Undo and get back to the edit. I hold down Ctrl key on Windows or Command key on Mac to scrub audio. And I find a beat. To stretch the layer, I have to use the Stretch Helper layer. It is added every time the Adjust Cuts window is open. Keep in mind, it's TextForce compatible. In fact, if the layer is present, TextForce will use it seamlessly. Set the stretch layer out at current time and in at the first beat time. Click on Set to stretch the selected layer to stretch layer in, out. The other layers follow. The second cut should be here. I can also set the stretch layer in, out by hand. Select layer and set. Okay, I can also stretch multiple layers at once, the in ear and the out ear. Set. Well, listen again. Still perfect, but better move layers backward by a couple of frames to balance the transition's early starts. Of course, when I close the Adjust window, the Stretch Helper layer is removed. Let's open the Styles window and talk about overlaps. They are disabled by default, so disable all styles and select the overlap cut. To make overlaps work, I really want to scale all images down, reset to update the script layers transformations info. Then I have to randomize the layers scale property. 30% is fine, so layers dimensions are all different from each other. Listen to the music first. So, a very fast beat track. Lower the audio. Because the beats rate is very fast, better set a very low threshold value. Generate. Select all the images. I disable the fill option, otherwise the images will be scaled up, and I don't want the layers to move, just to scale. Animate. As you may imagine, doing this work by hand is very time-consuming. This kind of edit is very social media effective. Let's try the fade one. Of course, the transition frames duration is adapted to the faster beat rate. Cool, right? There is also a full overlap. Last minute update. I added a full fade overlap. All these options stayed can be saved as a preset here. Name it overlap. OK. Now I set all back to default. As you see, the initial layer force state is restored, but I can load the saved preset by clicking on Load. As simple as that. So, the preset can record all the options except the time panel, because of course audio tracks are different for each project and they must be loaded first or reloaded, such as in this case. I asked ChatGPT to find 36 words to describe tasty food. I'm gonna copy all the words. Why 36 words? Well, because I animated 36 images. So, 1 to 1. In AI, select the text tool and paste it. As you see, it is a list. But TextForce, again, will handle the job. I open the text separation tool and I remove all the options except the new line separation. All the rows are now separated text layers. As I said before, both scripts share the audio engine, so I load the audio track in TextForce 2. I get the current markers on the audio track, select all the text, and open TextForce Styles window. I'm gonna choose just one animation style. Let's get Zoom. Split by rows, and animate. It will take some time. Well, as you see, it's very easy to create full audio-video text content. reducing the repetitive tasks by ages and seeing in a breeze. That's all, guys. Enjoy Layer Force and also check on Text Force. Cheers!